Damodaram Dakshidanandarupam Lakshat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashodabiyoluka Ladabhamanam Amristamanchan Tato Drutya Gopya Rudam Tamoho Netram Yugmam Vijantam Karamboja Yugmena Santankanetram Muhuswashakampa Chire Kankakanta Sitagragodamo Daram Bhakti Badam Iti Drikaswali Labir Ananda Kunde Swagoshami Masjantam Akyapayantam Tadiye Shitageshu Bhakta Jitatvam Puna Prematastam Sata Vritti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Namoksham Vademva Nachayam Vrine Hamba Re Sarapiha Idam Te Vaponata Gopala Balam Sadame Manasha Virastam Kemanyai Namamishwaram Sakshiranandarupam Lakshat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Idam Te Mukambodam Avyaktanilai Ritam Kuntalai Snigda Raktais Jagopya Muhochembitam Bimba Raktam Darame Manasya Virastam Alam Lakshalabai Namo Deva Damo Dharananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhuduka Jablabdi Magnam Kripa Dristi Vrischati Dinambatanu Grihane Shama Majnam Ekashidrisha Namamishwaram Sakshiranandarupam Lakshat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Kuverat Majobada Mojai Vajatva Tvaya Mokshito Bhakti Bhajo Krito Cha Tata Prema Bhaktim Swakame Prayascha Namokshi Graho Mesti Damodareha Namamishwaram Sachiranandarupam Lakshat Kundalam Gokule Vrajamanam Namo Dev Namaste Sudamne Puradipti Damne Padiodarayata Vishvashadamne Namo Radhikaya Twadiyai Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Twadiyai Priyaya Namo Nantali Ilaya Devaya Tubhyam Nama Viswaram Sakshiranandarupam Lakshat Pudalam Okure Vrajamana Yashodabhiyolukaladavamanam Param Ristamachan Tato Drupya Gopya Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Tvadiya Priyaya Namo Nantali Laya Devaya Tuyam Namo Nantali Laya Devaya Tuyam Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Haribo 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 Go Premanandi Niyama Seva Ki Jai Ujarat Ki Jai Shri Virtue Vrindavan Parikrama Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Guru Bhagavad.
Oh, Jai Jai. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari. Shri Radha Vino Ki Jai, Shri Radha Ramanju Ki Jai, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Radha Govinda, Shri Radha Gopinath, Shri Radha Damodar Ki Jai, Jai Nitalila Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Parasta, Talsat Sri Simad, Abhaya Charana Ravinda Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Jai Nitalila Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Raj Ki Jai Jai Nitalita Bhavishtom Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Goswami Raj Ki Jai Jai Nitalita Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tatsat Sri Simad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Mahabhagavad Srila Gaur Kishoras Babaji Raj Ki Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Sachit Ananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Gauri Vedanta Charja Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Sri Narottam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai Sri Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Sri Rup Sri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Roy Ramananda Adi Gaura Parshavini Ki Jai Namacharya Shahadas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Navadvitam Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Shri Mahavan Kamyavan Maruvan Talavan Kamudavan Bandiravan Vrindavan Lohavan Bhadravan Bahulavan Belvan Varasanatmaka Sri Bhajmandal Ki Jai Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Jamuna Ganga Tulasi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radharani Ki Jai Shrimati Lalita Shrimati Vishaka Aryasta Sakyavinda Ki Jai Shri Rupa Manjari Shri Rati Manjari Adi Manjari Vrinda Ki Jai Purnamasi Devi Ki Jai Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Gopi Sar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakrajuk Ki Jai Bhakta Vigavinath Srina Singha Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Raj Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Bhuvana Mangala Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Brihat Pradanga Ki Jai Brajmandal Parikram Ki Jai Urjavat Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari 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 Bol.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sripad Vaikanas Maharaj, for the Jai Dwani. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So welcome to day 22 of our virtual Brajbandha Parikrama. Today is also another rest day, so we will be hearing again from Sri Damodarastakam, the commentary on verse 4, I believe, this Varam Deva Mokshamna. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Sripad Bhaktivedanta Tridani Maharaj to begin, and then we will hear something from also Sripad Bhaktivedanta Vaikanas Maharaj. So Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam Maharaj, and just asking that you may begin. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Anuradha, Dandavat Pranams, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha. And first of all, offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Leela Pravishta Om, Asto Tarasara Shishimad, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all our divine Rupanuga Guru Varg, and all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha, kripa sindhavevacha, patitanam papnibhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, 22nd day of our virtual parikrama. This is very wonderful. And we've had no major crises, which dealing with the internet in India is a great success, actually. So, and we've reached the 4th verse. So I'll just chant this 4th verse again and say the translation to put us in tune again. Varam deva moksham na mokshavadim va nachanyam vrineham varishadapiya idam teva punata gopala balam sadamemanyasya avristam kim anye. O supremely effulgent and playful divinity, I do not ask you for freedom from mortal suffering, the 4th of human goals, nor do I ask for the ultimate limit of freedom, residence in Vaikuntha, the abode of extraordinary concentrated happiness, nor do I seek any other benediction from you, even attaining bhakti characterized by Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc., even though, as the supreme benefactor, you can easily grant all benedictions. O Lord of my life, may your beautiful form of Balagopal, a little cowherd boy in Braj, always remain visible within my heart. I have no use for any benediction other than this. So yesterday I scrolled through all the 8 verses just to give us an idea of the entirety of this Damodarastakam. And I mentioned then that this 4th verse is very pivotal in the sense that the first verse is setting the stage and it opens out the Leela of Krishna running from his mother, but he's captured from behind because she ran faster. And we have the Mangalacharyan also in the first line, Namam Ishwaram. And then in the second verse, we stay immersed in the direct Leela of this Dambanda pastime. And Krishna is rubbing his eyes, Rudantam Muhur Netra Yugramijantam, again and again. So this is very intimate. We're going more deeply, more sweetly into the mood of Balakrishna, Balagopal, rubbing his eyes, little boy, frightened of his mother's stick. And this is the Supreme Lord at the same time. I also explained yesterday how the Leela and Satyabrat Muni's Astakam complement each other in a sense that they open out different perspectives of moods within this pastime. Satyabrat Muni is going to open it out, especially today in this fourth verse, in the mood of like the sadhak. We've heard the Leela come all the way through. Yesterday, we heard particularly verse 3, this Ananda Kunde, this blissful pool of pastimes that Krishna is constantly drowning the inhabitants of Braj in every single day. There was a writer, Narayan Bhatta Acharya. He wrote one beautiful parikrama book. There were 60,000 leelas described in that parikrama book. But my Gurudev said he's just touching the very edge. Every footstep that Krishna makes in Vrindavan is a leela. There's a pastime connected with it. The way he walks, the way his arms swing, the way his clothes flow, everything about him is manifesting some type of leela. It's endless, endless, endless. Just as the endless pool of nectar that he's drowning all the inhabitants of Braj in is just, the leelas are constant. And in this Dambanda Leela, we understand like how Krishna, he's churning the hearts through his Shakti potencies of the Brijbasis to feel more protective of him, and especially in this Leela, of the tremendous affection of this Vatsalya Ras that Mother Yashoda holds for Krishna. This is what is being churned here and witnessed here by all the residents of Braj. This Vatsalya Ras, which is just so extraordinary, because we heard in the ultimate, at the end, when Nanda Baba goes to the Goshala and completely ignores Mother Yashoda. He wants to punish her, so to speak. So this is churning the hearts of not just Mother Yashoda and Krishna, and it's churning the hearts of everyone in Braj. The birds, the deer, the cows, all are immersed in, because they're all focusing entirely on Krishna. And whatever Krishna is doing, they are all immersed in simultaneously. So he's drowning these inhabitants in these pools, these fathomless pools, unlimited pools. There's no shoreline to these pools of nectar. We described this yesterday also. But now we come to this extraordinary fourth verse, and it takes a different dynamic, because now Satyabrat Muni is speaking directly to Krishna about a benediction or not having a benediction. We've just heard 3 verses touching on the Leelas. The first 2 verses are called Mantramayi Upasana. We described it's just a single pastime being described. The third verse is Swarasiki Upasana, many pastimes described together. And we said yesterday, my Gurudev, he describes like 12 different pastimes of baby Krishna in this third verse. But today, it's not a Leela directly. It's Satyabrat Muni, and his heart connection is being highlighted. What does he want? Why is he chanting this incredible Astakam? What is his purpose? Initially, we sense it was the purpose to receive that spurti, that form of Balagopal within his heart. And it's even going to develop beyond there. I described yesterday how the dynamic of this whole Astakam, because it's based, the principle, it's based on love and affection, which must be expanding to be a reality. If love is not growing, it's not really love. If it reaches some type of, plateau, some complacent mood, then there's no ripples, there's no waves of rasa. It just becomes like almost neutral. But here, the love of the Brijbasis, because what is being described is Braja Prem, Braja Ras. This is so Satyabrat Muni, he's claiming in this verse, he doesn't want moksha. He doesn't want even Vaikuntha Bhav. He doesn't even want Navada Bhakti. These are 3 huge stages of the process of bhakti. And he's saying that he doesn't even want that. All he wants is the spurti of Bala Gopal within his heart. This is, just for a moment reflection, the same desire that Kolavetra Sridhar has when he was offered the benediction from Nimai Pandit or Mahaprabhu at that time in Srivasangam. When Mahaprabhu was offering him a benediction, Kolavetra Sridhar was saying, I just want to see that restless Brahmin boy trying to harass me for my banana spates and so on. I just want darshan of this boy. I don't want anything else. He rejected everything else. So we have a very beautiful verse. Rupa Goswami, Klesh Agni. Klesha means suffering. Klesh Agni, fire. Klesh Agni, sufferings are incinerated. Klesh Agni, Shubhada. And we understand this is the description of sadhan bhakti. So Klesh Agni, Shubhada, when all our sufferings become incinerated. And this is a very auspicious time for the sadhak. Klesh Agni, Shubhada. And then we come to the stage of Bhav Bhakti, because unless our sadhan bhakti is focused on Bhav Bhakti, we should understand, all of us, conclusively, our sadhan bhakti amounts, practically speaking, to zero. Because if we're not focusing on Bhav Bhakti, what are we focusing on? Then we're focusing on some type of material benediction or material wealth of some sort, or mystical opulence or something like that. These different anartas that are there. But the sadhak, in the initial stage, if he's taught under guidance of a Shuddha Bhakta, a pure Bhakta, he will be directed towards Bhav Bhakti. And what is the description of Bhav Bhakti? Moksha Lakhuta Krit, which is saying the same as this verse. He looks with disdain. He looks down on the benediction of liberation. This is in the stage of Bhav Bhakti. Moksha Lakhuta Krit. This is a very, very high stage for the sadhak to consider. It means he's no longer concerned with his bodily welfare, etc. Whether the pains and sufferings of this material world are intense or not is not his concern anymore. The only principal focus of his entire being and existence is to connect with the Lord. So naturally, this requires a great intensity of practice to achieve this level. It doesn't just drop out of the sky. We can't just be wandering through, just jibber jabber, chanting some sort of Hare Krishna without any focus, without any clarity of where we're going, what is the aim and object. And this is described as sudurlabha, very, very rare to attain this stage of Bhav Bhakti. So this is the stage, in fact, that preludes the stage of prem. And we understand very clearly from our Gurudev that we cannot contain prema in this body. We don't have the adhikar for that. We have the adhikar, the ability, the eligibility to come to the stage of Bhav Bhakti. Prem, our body would explode. But this next stage of prem is described in this verse by Rupa Goswami. Sandra Ananda. Sandra means that nothing else can enter except bliss. Consider that for a moment. Nothing else can enter the consciousness except bliss. Sandra Ananda, Visheshatma. Sri Krishna Kashani Chasar. This has the ability to attract Krishna. This is prem. This is the platform of prem. So this will follow after the platform of Bhav Bhakti. But to come to this Bhav Bhakti, this description of looking with disgust or disdain on the idea of moksha, just to be liberated. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he describes in one place, it's like banging your head against the wall, and then you stop banging your head and you say, well, now I'm liberated. It's like you're not really going anywhere. It's not like you connected with a relationship to the Lord. Bhav Bhakti means significantly that our object of devotion, our object of affection has manifested, has expanded to only be focusing on Krishna. And the affection between Krishna and Sri Radha ultimately, or at least the affection between Krishna and his parikars, in this case, Mother Yashoda. So we're being carried on this wave by appreciating this fourth verse, Varam Deva Moksha. He doesn't even want moksha. He doesn't want even Navada Bhakti. He doesn't want even Vaikuntha. What is the stage of Vaikuntha? It's just Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada describes in one very beautiful essay he wrote at the beginning of the Rai Ramananda Sangvad. He wrote it as being a glorified, liberated condition. And in that place, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada described, there's a mood of inferiority because it's one of direct worship to the Lord. And you feel insignificant in a sense, in your sense of identity in relationship to the enormity of Lord Narayan. So he described it, his exact words before it was edited, was like inferiority complexity. That's how he described it. That's in Vaikuntha, the land of bliss. No suffering, no disturbance from any quarter. The Supreme Lord is there, focused. We read in Brihat Bhagavatamrita, the beautiful nature of Vaikuntha. Nevertheless, it still holds these four principles of liberation: Salokya, Samipya, Sharsti, Sarupya. These four liberations are there. So it's, in a sense, it's just a greater sense of liberation, is Vaikuntha. It's not the complete whole. My Gurudev has written one book. Initially, we had this published in English, Going Beyond Vaikuntha. Such a powerful impression. Going beyond Vaikuntha. What is beyond Vaikuntha? We're in this land now with Satyabrat Muni. He's brought us into this land through the different leelas. He's gentled us down, so to speak, with this incredible, intense connection between Krishna and Mother Yashoda. And he's brought us to a very beautiful, sweet place of contemplation on this pastime, where Krishna is churning the hearts. But now he himself is interjecting within this astakam and speaking almost directly. But I don't want liberation. I don't want moksha. I don't even want Navada Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Patsevanam, Archanam, Bandhanam, Dasyam, Sak. I don't even want this. And these are considered to be the stepping stones to our highest achievement. He doesn't even want that. So this is an extraordinary verse. It's a pivotal verse because, as I say, we've come through the Leela and we've suddenly come to this fourth verse where it's creating a more reflective, introspective perception of the whole astakam itself. He's no longer talking about the pastime directly. He's talking about his ultimate desire, which is only to perceive Bala Gopal in the core of his heart. This is his only desire. So the sadhak can consider this mood of Satyabrat Muni very intensely sweet and very, very, very devotionally focused. Nothing else except this is going to satisfy him. If we can consider in our own lives our myriad of material desires we carry around with us, and imagine if we get for a moment, because for any of the sadhaks listening today on our Zoom, all of us have had some type of spiritual experience, or we wouldn't be sitting here today listening. All of us have had some drops of mercy at some point in our lives to connect us with this goal of the endeavor to connect fully in service to Radha and Krishna. We've all had something of that. to some degree. And very often it comes like little drops in our practices. And it continues perhaps through years and years. And gradually those little drops might build up to be a pool, or ultimately like a lake. And then something really starts to take place in the heart. But this is our process. This is the process of sadhana bhakti, gradually increasing to the place of bhav bhakti. And in this description of bhav bhakti by Rupa Goswami, he's saying moksha lakhuta krit. I don't even want moksha. But how many times do we consider in our day? I know sometimes the devotees, they just think, oh, going back to Godhead is like a glorified, liberated condition because I'm suffering so much now. If I can go back to Godhead, I won't be suffering. And that's called liberation, moksha. Going back to Godhead means you have a place in that spiritual reality, direct service to your Gurudev. That Gurudev's gopi form, ultimately to Sri Radhika. Radhika performs the highest service, aradhanam. Her name comes from seva, from that service to Sri Krishna. She pleases Krishna more than anyone else in existence. So this is our ultimate hope, that we can connect with this divine personality through our Guru Varga. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has held exactly the same mood. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami describes exactly the same moods. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, the same. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the same. Because all are emanating from Sachinandan Gaurahari. This is where we're getting our connection. Mahaprabhu himself, he's come to taste himself, and he's come to give us. He's tasting the beauty that Radhika perceives through her connection, her relationship with Krishna. Sokyam kasyam mat anubhavita kitrisham vapati lobhyat. Tad bhavadya samajani sachigaramo sindhu harindu. This is his third desire, is to taste the happiness that Sri Radha experiences by receiving the sweetness of Krishna's love. So this loving journey is what we're all concerned with. And we're so blessed to have personalities, such luminaries like Rupa Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, who practically is non-different to Rupa Goswami, to chalk out clearly the path that the sadhak must tread. And this verse just reflects that mood. Satyabrat Muni is not asking for these benedictions other than to see that Balagopal in the core of his heart. He's been touched. Something has touched his heart. That's why he was inspired to even write this Astakam initially. Obviously, he's been immensely connected to Balagopal. We're going to see in the next verse how it escalates. He doesn't just want to see the form of Balagopal, he wants to only see the face of Balagopal. So again, it has the dynamic of escalation. So the sadhak's journey through our process of devotional service that we engage in from the very beginning of our practice is one of escalating realizations and awakenings, isn't it? And if this is not going on, then we should quickly come in the company of those Vaishnavas where we feel that dynamic is apparent. And we should take shelter more significantly of our Guru, because this mood, this intensity has to be there to climb out of this desire to want liberation. I'm in this material world. It's filled, packed with suffering. Who doesn't know this? We all know the extent of our material predicament. You know, every step practically is painful, especially as we reach older age, the aches and pains, etc. And the material world itself, run by rakshasas, run by demons. It's not a place for a gentleman to reside. So all of these, the force of the deteriorating foods, etc., which debilitate our body, the force, the pollution of the airwaves, which pollutes our brain, the pollution from these cell phones, etc., these towers. I mean, we all know what we're all up against. It's really tough, isn't it? But because of all those opposing forces trying to pull us away, we have to, and we can very easily, because we're given something even greater than that. If we can have the fortitude to take shelter of it, which is the holy name, which will actually set aside all of these obstructions to us so that we can go. But in this darkest age of Kali, these impediments are giving us the greatest reason to go forward. I mean, what sane man wouldn't be wanting to go forward in this age against such disastrous conditions? These conditions are increasingly getting worse, almost day by day, if we appreciate the nature of the material world, which is run by demons. It's Kali Yuga. This is the nature of any Kali Yuga. The demons, it's their age, so they are manipulating everything. And in this age, remarkably, this is when the Yuga avatar Mahaprabhu appears. That most munificent person appears, when we've got all the elements against us, so to speak. So therefore, our determination must be even stronger. And when Krishna perceives, like Satyabrat Muni is pleading here. This whole Astakam is one of intense prayer to Sri Krishna to give him this darshan. He only wants this. So how can we as sadhaks develop this one focused appreciation for Krishna and have that same desire? By immersing ourselves in pastimes such as this Dambanda Lila. It's the positive aspect, the artha pravriti, which is going to carry us forward, not the anartha, not dwelling on the anartha pravriti, but the anartha pravriti is there, so we're mentioning it. But our focus and goal is on the artha pravriti, the wealth of these leelas, the sweetness and speciality of Mother Yashoda's relationship with Krishna. So I'm going to read a little bit of this commentary so I don't go too much off track from the commentary. Otherwise, Vaikanas Maharaj will be angry with me. So, describing here. Right. 7. He's talking about the Nabada Bhakti and liberation. And he's saying on page 80, he quotes a beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam, the 3rd canto. Sri Sanatana Goswami and the other Kumaras prayed, O Lord, if because of the offense we made by cursing your devotees Jai and Vijay, we have to take birth in an extremely condemned species or even in hell, no harm. As long as our hearts and minds, like bees, are immersed in relishing the sweetness of serving your lotus feet. So this is what the sadhak is trying to build within his heart, this ekantika, this one-pointed desire just to serve the Lord's lotus feet. Relishing the sweetness of serving your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by glorifying you, just as tulsi leaves are beautified when they are offered at your feet, and our ears are eternally filled with descriptions of all your transcendental qualities. Then we do not care about where we take birth. In other words, may we eternally have the fortune of hearing Shravanam and singing Kirtan about you. So this is what I just was saying, this artha pravriti. When we hear about the Lord, when we sing about the Lord in Kirtan, but nevertheless, this is still Navada Bhakti. Sometimes we have to consider in my sadhan, is it my sadhan that is important, or is it the goal of my sadhana that is important? Is it important that I chant all my rounds every day, get up for Mangalati, perform the parikramas and everything? Is that what's most important in my life? Because I have an urgent desire to achieve something, to get to something? Or am I able to actually take great relish and happiness and pleasure in the act of performing those sadhanas? You understand the difference, the two? One is like focusing on the sadhana, and one is in focusing on the goal of the sadhana, which is bhav bhakti ultimately. If we're not focusing on the bhav bhakti, like I said, then really our sadhana is, in a sense, zero. So Sanatana Goswami is describing this statement specifically demonstrates that regardless of where one resides, as a result of his actions, even if he resides in hell, once he has attained final perfection of prema bhakti by appropriately performing the limbs of navada bhakti, such as shravan, he always experiences the fulfillment of residing in Vaikuntha. We're not actually looking towards Vaikuntha. We're looking towards beyond Vaikuntha. This astakam is going to take us, this verse is going to carry us beyond Vaikuntha. So Sri Krishna is the essence of all bliss. Oh, I just back up a second. He says, Satyabrat Muni says, Kim Anyaya, of what use to me are these boons of moksha, etc. In other words, Satyabrat Muni says, although these attainments are eagerly sought after by others, they are of no use to me. Just to reflect, someone as powerful and potent and as great as Bhishmadev, he achieved Vaikuntha, which was a remarkable destination. Originally, he was a Vasu in Swagaloka, and through his association with Krishna, he achieved, and what a great personality he was in this world. But he achieved that land of liberation, that land of Vaikuntha. So this Vaikuntha is not a small achievement, and Bhishmadev achieved that. Jad Bharat also, the same achievement. And Prahlad also was in that realm. But we're looking to something much further than that. The juice of transcendental relationship, transcendental bhav, of our loving attraction through our seva to Brajendra Nandan, Shyam Sundar, and Sri Radhika. This is something beyond there. Now, Sanatana Goswami is describing, Sri Bhagavan asked the sage, you may not want liberation and other boons, but why do you not accept the benediction of seeing me and conversing with me in any of my opulent four-armed forms, like Sri Narayan? This has also been offered, a privilege greatly cherished by all. In this context, Sri Satyabrat Muni replies, he has no use for any other benediction. He means, I will only experience the greatest bliss if your Balagopal form, the crown jewel of all beauty, remains forever manifest in my heart and not otherwise. This is called ekantika. He's had a darshan. He's had a taste. We also at different times can experience a mood or a taste or a connection. And we should cherish that, hold that. Don't let it slip. Refresh it, write it down. Be close to that fixed point of desire in our regulated chanting, etc. Don't let it evaporate through time. We have to be very careful about holding on to these divine drops of mercy, because all of us, as I said previously, have received some type of mercy from our Guru Varga, or we wouldn't be sitting here today. And try to remember and hold those in dreams perhaps, or different places, but something of the tremendous natural love. Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishna Nitidas, this relationship is dormant within our heart. Kriti Sadhya Bhavet Sadhya Bhav Sasadanavida. Nitya Siddhyasya Bhavasya. Prakritam Riti Satyate. In potentiality within the heart of every jiva is this immaculate, extraordinary, divine, natural relationship with Radha and Krishna, and it can be opened without such pain. It can be opened simply by the sincere practice, by hearing, by following in the line of our Guru Varga. What's that? Vikriditam Brajabadubi itam cha Vishnu, Shadam Vishnu, Nushrunyat Anata Vrinyamya, Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labya, Karamam Hridorgam Arsat, Apinoti Acharena. That by hearing the sweet, sweet pastimes of Krishna first, then Param Bhaktim, this bhakti will arise in the heart. Not that we try through austerities, Ashtanga Yoga and methods like this, which were there in previous ages, but simply by hearing the sweetness of Krishna's Leelas, then our hearts will be softened and purified. This is the process that Srila Rupa Goswami has enunciated. This is the process that all our Guru Varga have enunciated. There's a very beautiful essay, we can print, we can publish it on our thread, of my Gurudev's preface in Venu Geet. He says this point very carefully, that we cannot crash the gates of heaven, so to speak, by the strength of our apparent sudden bhakti. This can only manifest when one hears the sweetness of Krishna's pastime. It's the positive path that we are concerned with. And Satyabrat Muni is certainly holding only to that, exclusively to that. He just wants to see the form of Balagopal in his heart. This whole verse is described as pratana, which means it's a prayer for this benediction. The benediction just to keep Krishna in his heart. Doesn't want Vaikuntha, doesn't want moksha. This is a very high stage. We should appreciate that. But by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, only in this age, this I always find completely amazing, is that it's only once in the entire day of Lord Brahma that this window will be opened for us to directly engage in Rag Anuga Bhakti, following in the footsteps of the Ragatmika Bhaktas. Because without this following in, who are the Ragatmika Bhaktas? They are the Brijabasis that we are hearing about, that we are immersed in, hearing this Ananda Kunde, these pools of bliss, Mother Yashoda, what she's going through with Nanda Baba, what she's going through with all the gopis, what sort of moods are being experienced by all of these personalities during this pastime. It's extraordinary. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. This Astakam is just extra, and it supports the Leela. So like I said before, these two parallel runnings, we got the Astakam, we've got the Leela. So these are just some thoughts initially from the first Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary. So I think I started at 10 past the hour, Maharaj. I think I've gone. How long have I gone, Anuradha? I have to tell Vaikanas Maharaj, you'll get on my case if I go too long.
Yes, it's been about
40 minutes?
is it almost 45
It's
minutes?
about an
Yeah.
hour and a half, I think.
You see, he always goes on. So 5 minutes over. Sorry, Maharaj. But I didn't touch on Gurudev's commentary. It's all there left there intact, which is so rasik. This commentary, Sripad Vaikanas Maharaj is going to describe is very, very special. So Vanshakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Papnivyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha.
Actually, it won't be possible to do all of Gurudev's commentary. It's 14 pages, you know. Anyway, did you want to say anything, Anuradha Didi, before we start? Okay.
Just what you on the screen and me off the screen. It's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, just to let everybody know before I start my prayers, he's accusing me of correcting him and this and that. At the end of every class, we self-critique. We critique ourselves, we critique each other, but in a very good spirit, how can we improve, right? And the main theme always is what Gurudev would always do with us. He would demand that we stay on topic. He would sometimes say that. You'd be speaking, go, stay on topic. And you go, you know. Even somebody like, I remember, many of the Indian sannyasis, they were so experienced speaking, and they would just go on, and Gurudev would correct them, and they'd still go on, except Sripad Ban Maharaj. I remember the way that he would react if Gurudev would say anything. He was so learned, and he's a grave person, but when Gurudev would speak, he'd become like a child, and he would immediately listen so attentively and then just do exactly what Gurudev said. Very amazing quality. It's very sweet to see, that kind of mood. And Gurudev himself, we had the really good fortune of being able to sit on the stage with Gurudev during these parikrams. And on his left side, Maharaj was there, Brajanath, that whole area was taken. But on the right side, because the whole audience was divided. On the left side were all the men, on the right side were all the ladies. So people didn't like to sit on the right side because they'd be looking out at all the ladies, right? Sannyasis. But there was no other place to sit. I thought, if I want to be near Gurudev, I should sit over here. And then the only competition was Sajan Maharaj, because he was also very greedy, and would be trying to get to that spot right there. And when you got that spot, you'd watch Gurudev, he'd have his own book or notes out in front of him, and he would trace with his finger where he was and how he was going to progress. He would read or recite from his own books, his own purports, his own notes, just to make sure that he also didn't get carried away in his own, because so many moods come from everything you say, so many topics you can spring off to this side or that side. But with limited time, you always want to at least cover the essential. And so he always had us do that. So that's what we do back and forth, It's stay on topic, but we appreciate that, right? We're enjoying that Ross. So, Aganatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulamitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupeta Apeta Krityam Dwapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Tadavo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshai Kiptastakamadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tavai Vasmi Najivami Tvayavina Iti Vigyayadadhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Talsat Sri Simad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asto Talsat Sri Simad Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and our exalted Rupana Guru Varga and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So somebody told me yesterday that the sound wasn't coming through very well. I turned up my mic all the way. I'm wondering if anybody else has that problem, or if it's just an Indian problem, Indian connection. So if you can't hear, usually I'm told I speak too loud. But here I'm being told I'm not speaking loud enough all the time. Actually, Gurudev told me one time after he gave me sannyas, he said, "Now I want you to preach in your big, loud voice." So I've tried to follow that instruction. So Srila Gurudev speaking on this verse, it's like purports within purports. You ever see those Russian dolls where you got this doll and then you open up the head and there's another one inside but smaller, and then there's another one inside that, another one inside that. Well, in his commentary on this verse, he brings up so many different shlokas, uh, and also verses from Rupa Goswami, his Upadesh Amrita, uh, which our Srila Prabhupada also commented on, Gurudev commented on, all about what he wants us to pull from this. And Chaitanya Maharaj has brought it out very clearly, actually, that this verse is opening up a window to what we're really looking for, where we're really trying to get, right? This is the first inclination, right? Because, we have this process of Vaidhi Bhakti, and it's appropriate, right? It's appropriate. You begin at according to your adhikar, but it's not the limit of what we're trying to practice. Our whole message from our acharyas is to come into Rag Anuga. And Rag Anuga means to follow what Chaitanya Maharaj is saying, the perfected Ragatmika devotees in the spiritual world, to find those devotees whose mood and service you are attracted to, and under their guidance, perform your bhajan and sadhan. And we're performing and we're seeking the guidance of those who are connected with those kinds of personalities, right? So even though we're meditating on Vatsalya Ras here, Vatsalya Ras is giving us many, many, many lessons that are extraordinarily important. We heard yesterday that this mood of love overcomes all other considerations. Even the desire of the Lord himself becomes subordinate to the love of his devotee, right? This idea of Krishna's bhakta vatsalyata, his affection for his devotee. So he begins his commentary that until now he's been describing sweet pastimes, under the umbrella of Vatsalya Ras. But what's happening, his heart's melting and he's becoming absorbed in them, right? And then he contrasts, and this is important. He contrasts the prayers of, say, Lord Brahma and other demigods with this kind of prayer, right? That the demigods are praising Krishna most frequently based on his role as the creator, the protector, like that. But Satyavrat Muni is praising Krishna for his extraordinary intimate relationship of love with his mother. And he's praising his mother. And we heard yesterday, this attracts Krishna very much. Right? Krishna says in the 11th canto, one who says he's my devotee, oh, he may or may not be my devotee, right? But one who is the devotee of my devotee, yes, that person I definitely accept. And that's the principle of Guru. Guru is certainly, in the beginning, we see Guru like a father, like a master, like a lord, but ultimately, in the higher stages of bhakti, when we come into really understanding Guru Seva, Vishrambena Guru Seva, intimate, where the moods and desires and feelings of Guru are not different from your own. Chaitanya Maharaj yesterday used the word tadiya. You become one with that personality. Your interests are completely aligned. Like we heard about Gurudev saying the other day, that now any affection I had for family, for relatives, for wife, children, I'm transferring and giving all my affection to you. And Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj had never heard such a expression of love, right? And so Satyavrat Muni is expressing an awakening of a much deeper kind of love, right? As Chaitanya Maharaj indicated, not just attachment to the rules and regulations, but deep longing for what those are meant to bring us to. And Gurudev spends a lot of time in this purport, earlier and later also, distinguishing between the different goals and different stages, right? And that is extremely important. And this was something that people did not understand when Gurudev began his preaching, right? Because he was really emphasizing this concept, this idea of what is our ultimate prayojan. And he was separating the goals of the general Vaikuntha realm. Vaikuntha, it can mean broadly all the spiritual world, including Goloka Vrindavan, including Braj. But more often it's used to describe that part of Vaikuntha where Lord Narayan is worshipped in the multitude of planets. The different incarnations are worshipped in that mood of opulence, awe, and reverence. And even separating the moods of the worship of the devotees in Dwarka. The fact that Sanatana Goswami has done a commentary on this prayer, extracting this from the Padma Purana out of all things, and the fact that he has revealed this in the same way, because actually his role, he wrote the first book of all the Goswamis, this Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And in that, he laid down the foundation which Sri Rupa Goswami was going to elaborate on. In other words, the gradations of devotees. Not all devotees have the same kind of love, have the same kind of spiritual experience. He takes, a Narada Muni's search, going from one level to the next, right? All the way to Dwarka. And even when he gets to Dwarka, what happens? Oh no. He in a sense, he sort of praises the queens as being topmost, and they say, no, actually we're not. And then it gets to the gopis and Gopakumar's journey from every level of realization. So Sanatana Goswami, that was his speciality, right? One of the things that he was specifically tasked to do. And that's why, that's what's revealed in this book. And that's why Chaitanya Maharaj is emphasizing from that commentary to separate and understand what our goal is. And Gurudev's going to bring that up. He says there's 5 kinds of mukti: Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sarshti, and Sayuja. Now, Sayuja is the impersonal realization, right, which devotees completely reject. That's rejected by Gopakumar, when he takes the role of Lord Brahma, holds a great conference. And in the conference, he invites all of the different personifications of the scriptures, Upanishads, 4 Vedas, etc., Itihasas, and also Srimad Bhagavatam is there, amongst all the other Puranas. And he wants to understand, right? What is the highest truth? And the Upanishads are offering the idea of Brahmavad, and very vehemently. And Srimad Bhagavatam gets disgusted and just walks out of the assembly. Gopakumar chases him, asks him, you please come back and speak. And then he speaks, and he gives the difference, right? How this Brahman, it's a spiritual state, but it's like spiritual sleep, where your identity is not awakened, your service relationship is not there, loving exchange is not there. It's a kind of ananda because you're completely free of all material misfortune. You're out beyond that. And you are situated spiritually, but that bliss is like a little drop of water in the hoofprint of a calf compared to the unlimited ocean, right? Very insignificant, and for a devotee considered hellish, right? But Samipya or Salokya means to live on the same planet as the Lord, one of the Vaikuntha planets. Samipya means to be close to the Lord on that planet. Sarupya means to have a 4-armed form like the Lord. Sarshti means to have that same kind of opulence. When Gopakumar got to Vaikuntha, the 4-armed inhabitants were telling him, why are you dressed like a cowherd boy? You've only got 2 arms, you've got these simple clothes. You should dress like us. You've got to have 4 arms, ornaments, all these wonderful things. But there's no taste for him for that, right? So Lord Kapila Dev indicates to his mother that my devotees, they consider all these things insignificant, right? Gurudev's explained that when you could go to Vaikuntha and have these things, and they might not be completely unfavorable, but even in Vaikuntha, there are two kinds of happiness. One is Sukhaishvarya, Svasukhaishvarya Uttara Moksha, where you're just enjoying the spiritual existence of being there with the Lord and all. And your own happiness and opulence predominates, amazingly enough. But then there are others who are there who are prema seva uttara moksha, where they have entered into loving service to Bhagavan, and that predominates. It's in Dasya Ras, it's limited. Gopakumar was very dissatisfied because he couldn't be with the Lord all day long. There are certain services he could not do. He couldn't be intimate with the Lord, but still, he had some experience of happiness in expressing prema and some service. Now, generally, it's understood that in the association of prema, the devotees who have prema, someone who's liberated from all material attachment, they may awaken that, right? They may awaken that. So it is possible to go beyond that. But those who have any level of prema never desire for the inferior Sasukaishvaratara moksha. And that was like the four Kumaras, right? They experienced the fragrance of the tulsi leaves, and they abandoned completely desires for impersonal liberation and wanted to enter into a mood of service to the Lord. Even though they're generally considered in Shantaras, they still do significant service and have relationship, right? So then he's going to progress. Okay, now that we understand that, the next level beyond that, which was revealed in Gopakumar's journeys and in so many examples that we have, Shuddha Bhakta, one-pointed attachment for loving service of Sri Krishna. They don't even aspire for prem sevotara moksha, because in that, the desire for one's own happiness still is there. In the Shuddha Bhaktas, the Bhaktas of Braj, their own happiness is never a consideration. It's very hard for us who are conditioned by ahankara, by false ego, to imagine a state of consciousness where one's own interest is completely not there, because we've never experienced anything like that. Everything that we desire, taste, think about is always tainted by self-interest. That's what false ego does. It takes the natural inclination of the soul to direct all emotions and all activities, all feelings towards the happiness of the Lord, and self-directs them towards oneself, and then covers one with the idea that I'm this body, right? So devotees don't pray for any kind of personal moksha or anything. He quotes Bhagavatam, again, 29th chapter, I believe this is Kapila Dev, Divyamanam nagrinanti vina mat sevanam jana. They don't accept any kind of moksha, even if I personally offer it to them, right? So, and then Vitrasura, he quotes that. Remember Vitrasura, he had been Chitra, oh God, I can't, oh God. Maharaj Chitra,
Chitraketu.
Chitraketu, thank you. I was hoping you'd bust in. Thank you very much. He had been cursed because of unappreciated intimacy with Lord Shiva, joking with him. Parvati didn't like it, so she said, oh, you're demoniac. She had him take the body of a demon, which he accepted. He could have, not taken the curse, but he took it. But even in the body of a demon, he proved that bhakti always reigns supreme because he didn't lose his bhakti. And while he was fighting and surrendered to the idea of being killed by Lord Indra, he offered very beautiful prayers to the Lord, which when he heard, Lord Indra understood that, oh my goodness, he's a greater devotee than I am, even though he's in the guise of a demon. Bali Maharaj, also a great devotee, even though externally was the king of the demons. right? So bhakti cannot be destroyed. We may even take birth in different species. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I don't care, any species of life, right? But let me always be your devotee, right? And so Satyavat Muni, Gurudev goes on, he says, I don't want any benediction. I don't want the general results of Vaidhi Bhakti, right? And this is the subtle thing that Chaitanya Maharaj is pushing across, that Vaidhi Bhakti can be seen as the end process, or it can be seen as a stepping stone to Raganuga, right? Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his song, Hey, Shuno Hey Rasika Jana, he explains in the third verse that when one performs Vaidhi Bhakti properly, Krishna becomes pleased and he awards them Raga Nuga Bhakti and the jewel of independence. That's very interesting, the jewel of independence. What does that mean? That means freedom given to one who's pure in heart to spontaneously try in different ways to please the Lord, even if it goes what appears to be against the immediate desire of the Lord, like Mother Yashoda, tying up her son. He didn't want to be tied. Looking into his mouth, he was afraid he was going to be chastised, right? But their love is so strong, they have full independence. The gopis can reject Krishna. They can tie him up. But because everything is done with so much love, he becomes controlled by that. That's what he's really tasting. All the Leela, all of its different varieties, it's just a means to taste rasa, right? To taste rasa. And we get confused because we impose our own conceptions of sometimes of these things they say or moods they seem to be expressing because we equate them with our own. But our own moods are materially contaminated, our own actions, our own interests. But as Raghunath Babaji Maharaj describes to Brajanath, it's all we have. The language and experience that we have in this world, it can be used as a metaphor, as a means of comparison, and it can take us up to a certain point. But we have to realize and take guidance from our acharyas not to be prakrita sahaja and impose the material conception onto the pure spiritual experience, right? So then Gurudev brings up and he says that, okay, Satyavat Muni's saying, I don't want any of the results of ordinary Vaidhi Navada Bhakti, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. And Krishna, astonished, says, what? This is praised everywhere in the scripture. You don't want to accept even that? Then what is your desire? And then he says, my only desire is that your form as little Bal Gopal manifests in my heart forever. That small cowherd boy who is afraid of his mother and who is looking here and there with fearful, suspicious eyes. And he brought up the really wonderful example of Kolavecha Sridhar when Mahaprabhu was revealing himself as the Yuga avatar. They had known him, he had shown his devotional side, but now he's showing this other side and revealing his own very specific rasa with each of these devotees. And then he called Kolavecha Sridhar. He was so humble, nobody hardly knew him, what to speak of where he lived. And so Mahaprabhu gave some instructions. They came back with him. And he praised Kolavecha Sridhar so much. You know, he was the one who sold banana leaves, leaf cups made out of different parts of the banana tree, and some vegetables. Very simple, humble existence. And every day Mahaprabhu would go there and argue with him and fight for, for the price of vegetables. And sometimes he would say what appeared to be blasphemous things. Hey, why are you worshiping Ganga? She's my wife. Give me what you were going to give her. Oh, Vishnu, Vishnu. He'd cover his ears. Don't speak like that, because he's covering him with Yogamaya. But then what did he say? What do I want as a benediction? I don't have any words to praise you. I'm ignorant, you know. And then Mahaprabhu says, oh, you can't praise me? Speak. And he empowers him to speak. And all of a sudden, he utters all these wonderful, wonderful prayers. So he says, oh, a benediction. I wanted that beautiful, naughty, argumentative Brahmin boy always be with me, every day that I get to see him and argue over the price of vegetables. So now this is awakening, right? Okay, but this is only seeing him, right? There's more to come, right? Seeing is one thing. And there's, that can be passive as well. But he wants to see that very special form, Krishna in Vrindavan, right? Now, Gurudev quotes this verse of Rupa Goswami, and this is from the Upadesh Amrita, verse 8. And this is a really important verse. In 1997, Srila Gurudev was traveling, and when he was traveling, he was speaking on Upadesh Amrita. And when he got to New Braj, he was speaking from the middle verses. I think he started around verse 5, because he'd already spoken about the others. And when he came to this verse, he said, up until now, I've presented all these other verses, but this is the one I wanted to come to. This is the one that's most special. This is the essence of all advice. And those lectures that he gave are recorded in a book called The Essence of All Advice. Very beautiful, beautiful book. And in that lectures, Gurudev is speaking and he's commenting on our Srila Prabhupada's purports. So he's having Srila Prabhupada's purports read, and then he's revealing them to us, things that we'd not considered that Srila Prabhupada is directly saying. And so I just before the class, I looked at that, and I was looking at Srila Prabhupada's purports, and all of that was coming back to me. I'm going to read this verse. Tan nama rupa charitari sukirtananu smrityo kramena rasanama nasidna yoja tishtan vrajay tad anuragi jananu gami kalam nayad akilam iti upadesha saram. It's a little different translation. He's giving a kind of bhavanuvad. The bhakti sadhaks should perform kirtan and smaranam, remembrance, chanting and remembering Sri Krishna's name, form, character, and pastimes. Thus, they should gradually engage their tongues and minds, withdrawing them from absorption in sense objects, which cause aversion to Sri Krishna. Residing in Braj Mandal, one should follow in the footsteps of Sri Krishna's associates who have deep attachment for him and fully utilize every moment of their time like this. This is the essence of all teachings. So I'm going to read Srila Prabhupada's translation. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes. This is definitely Srila Prabhupada. Nicely chanting and remembering. He always uses this word nicely, but in that, what's he saying? He's invoking the mood in which we're supposed to be doing it. Not just mechanically to get it done with. Oh, I'm supposed to chant a certain amount of rounds. That's me, All right, yeah, okay, done them. Throw my bead bag down. Now I'm going to do something I really like, Maybe there's some leftover maha. No, nicely chanting, remembering, right? Divine name, transcendental form, qualities, eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind, right? Nicely, a mood, appreciative, calling out to Krishna. If we don't have love, call out and pray that we have love. Call out and pray that when we chant, we give pleasure to Krishna and Radhika, like their devotees do. They take so much pleasure in hearing their devotees sing their names, right? I want to give you pleasure by my chanting. I'm not seeking some separate benediction. My benediction would be to make you happy by my service. That's it. Even though so many other things reside in my mind, so many other anya bilash, separate interests are there, really, in my heart of hearts, I just want to make you happy. In this way, one should reside in Braj and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. Right? So Gurudev explains Uddhava from that, glorifying in that 47th chapter when he goes to Vrindavan to console them and give them messages from Krishna, glorifying them, glorifying their pure love, that it's so high. The young wives of the Gopas embodied here on earth, these Brajavadu, right? The wives of when he says the wives of the Gopas, that means those who are engaged in this Parakiras. Parakiras only exists if you're married, right? That's why Lakshmi, remember we heard that? She couldn't come into this. Embodied here on earth lead the topmost lives because they have Mahabhav, or full-blown selfless love for Sri Govinda, the very soul of all. Their pure love is sought after by those sages who fear repeated birth and death, as well as by us. What is the use of being born, even as Lord Brahma, if one doesn't have any taste for hearing the nectarian descriptions of Sri Hari? And then he quotes another verse by Vritrasura, right? But again, he's making the point. He comes back to Navada Bhakti, right? When the 9 limbs of bhakti are performed according to Vaidhi Marg, right, strict adherence to scriptural regulations, they enable the sadhak to attain Vaikuntha. On the other hand, when the same limbs of bhakti are performed in Rag Marg, the path of spontaneous love, they enable the sadhak to reach the abode of Vrindavan, where they attain loving service to Krishna. That idea is in that verse that Sri Maharaj quoted. Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava sadanabhida. Nitya sedasya bhavasya prakritam hridi sadhyata. Right? Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya bhava. When you're performing the activities of sadhan with the intent to go into this very high class of bhav bhakti, right, which is there, dormant in the heart. It's eternally there. Nitya siddhasya bhavasya. And it's awakened, prakrityam hridisadyata, by the practice of bhav bhakti. First, the anarthas are removed by Vaidhi bhakti. We come to the stage, to the edge, to the awakening of that when we come to a sakti, when we're chanting Shuddhanam, and we're developing deep attachment for the object of our sadhan, right? Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. And then there's that Tatashta, that region between the two that Brajanath and Vijay Kumar experienced in Navadvip, when in the association of Babaji Maharaj, their own individual moods of service, their desire to serve in a particular way, under the guidance of a particular devotee in Vrindavan awakened, and then serving Babaji Maharaj, who had connection with these personalities, and his own meditation was based on that, his own internal service, then they could do it. This is Tishtan Vrajay Tad Anuragi Jananugami. You follow those who have that kind of rag, right? So this is what we want to come to. We have to understand that. We don't want to be content. We don't disparage or criticize Vaidhi Bhakti. It's our pathway, but we have to understand, right, that we want to, he says, rag is defined as one's attraction to an object. And the soul's inherent capacity is to be attracted towards Krishna. And if that becomes the exclusive object of that attachment, then you're a ragatmika. It means your atma is the nature of rag. It's made of rag, made of attraction and love for Krishna. Ite swarisiki raga parama vishtata bhavet tanmaya bhavet bhakti shatra ragat mikodita. Rag is the unquenchable loving thirst for the object of one's affection. That in turn gives rise to spontaneous and intense absorption in that object. Devotion that is performed with such rag is known as ragatmika bhakti. Right now we have different kind of rag. We have rag for the things of this world, for other conditioned souls, right? But now we're hearing about this very, very high thing. And raganuga bhakti means following in the wake of ragatmika bhaktas, right? Who have that kind of bhakti. And Raganuga Bhakti is independent, very powerful. Independent in that what? What motivates it? Not the rules and regulations, although they're followed, but they're followed from a different perspective. Because the rules and regulations, sadhana and sadhya, are one in the perfect state. Because sadhya reflects the natural activities of a self-realized soul. But you're doing it out of spontaneous love. You naturally want to chant. You naturally want to hear. You naturally want to remember, right? All of that. So then he quotes these verses. Oh, we're not going to have time for this. Oh, this is so important. This is really what I wanted to get to. Because these two verses, Srila Prabhupada quotes in his commentary to this Upadeshamrita verse that Gurudev quoted earlier. Krishna smaran jananchasya preshtam nija samihitam tat tat katara tach tacho kuryad vasam vrjesada. The devotee should constantly remember Sri Krishna, along with the dearmost associates of Sri Krishna, whom he chooses to follow. While permanently living in Braj, he should become attached to always hearing about them. And then Srila Prabhupada also says this, it's in parentheses, if one is unable to live in Braj by body, then one should live in Braj by mind. That's where we are right now, right? We're by mind. I'm sitting next to Tridandi Maharaj, right now. Talking to him, I feel Braj. I know he's in Radhakund. He describes it to me every day. So he's pulling me there. And then, right? So what is he saying? Remembering Krishna Smaran, but also Janam Chasya, the devotees of Krishna, the Jana, those, and what? Tat tat katara tascha. So you want to talk about them also, and you want to follow them, right? So, Seva Sadaka Rupena, Siddha Rupena, Chatrahi, Tadbhava Lipsana Karya, Vajalokanu Sarataha. This is all from Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Samrita Sindhu. He who has developed greed for Ragatmika Bhakti, I said this follows that, should closely follow in the footsteps of the particular associates in Braj whose moods he aspires for. Under their guidance, he should engage in service in both his external form as a sadhak and internally with his perfected spiritual body. So, service means, even as a sadhak, at this point, we should be embracing those internal moods. He quotes Manashiksha next, again, one that Gurudev would always quote. Verse 3, if you wish to live in the land of Braj, birth after birth, and you crave the chance to perform direct service to the eternally youthful divine couple in their parakeet affairs full of rag, then my dear mind, listen to me. He's speaking to his mind, but he's giving us the prayer that we should speak to our mind. So what I say now, you should be hearing and telling your mind this. Okay, so we're all going to speak. Hey, mind, listen up. Listen up. My dear mind, listen to me. Realize deep love for Sri Sarup Damodar, Sri Rupa Goswami, his older brother, Sri Sanatan Goswami, and all their associates. Remember them for all eternity and offer obeisance to them in adoration. My dear mind, please listen to me. Right? And this verse follows a previous verse, Guru Goshte, right? Where he's saying, oh, you should worship Guru first and foremost. This is an external thing. Guru, the inhabitants of Vrindavan, right? The Brahmanas, right? In our sadhana, worshiping them with the intent under their guidance to worship and serve internally through Damodar. Who's that? Lalita Saki, Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, Sanatana Goswami, Lavanga Manjari, right? So then he says, you should hear and chant according to your own specific moods. Now, there's something very important here. I'm going to jump a little bit further because he's talking, he gives a whole bunch of verses that Mahaprabhu revealed to us through his followers, beginning with Madhavendra Puri, about revealing the moods of Srimati Radhika, right? And her followers. That's the mood that we're looking for. And then he even quotes Radha Chaitanya Vaishana Yasya Kantir Vilopita Shri Krishna Charanam Vande Radha Lingita Vigraham, that beautiful song by his Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Pragan Keshav Maharaj. That particular form of Krishna with Radhika, when Radhika's in Mand, Krishna in separation from her, because Mand creates separation. That's one form. Even if they're directly there together, the Mand keeps them separate. He becomes so completely immersed in thinking about her that his own darkish complexion became golden like hers. We adore that Krishna who loves Radhika so much. And why does she create that separation? Even Chandravali cannot understand that. She criticizes Radhika. Why does she do that? Krishna's so sweet. He's so nice. Why does she show man? Why does she not let him in her company? Right? But it's a special mood that creates Krishna's intensity and yearning and transforms his prem to higher and higher levels. It's the greatest thing. Right? So I'm just going to do a really quick thing on this. After this, Krishna Smaram Janam Chasya Seva Sadhaka Upena, Srila Prabhupada, in his own purports on this verse, he quotes Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, urging us how to go to Vrindavan, in what mood, with one selfless, one-pointed dedication, right? Abandoning all other things. And then he says something really interesting. He's going to describe the stages, of development. And now remember this verse, it says, Seva, no, wait, Tanama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu Smrityo, right? One should engage constantly in chanting and remembering, right? So when the first time we met Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharti Maharaj, we went to a little darshan in his room, and we're told in advance that he sometimes asks older devotees questions that are pertinent to their own lives. So he asked me, he said, what's the duty of an old man? And I always tell this story because it's very dear to me. And I thought, And I thought of this verse with the sage's question, what are the duties? What should one hear and chant and remember, especially one who is about to die? Old man is one who's about to die. You could be 5 years old, you could be 80. But when you're about to die, you're an old man. So I said, hearing, chanting, remembering. He said, no. Chanting and remembering. You should have already heard. And chanting will invoke remembrance. And I said, what? I said, I don't know that I've ever heard like that. But over the course of a few years, he would always say something that I couldn't get. And so then I would have to research. And then obviously, Tan Nama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu Smrityo. One should spend one's time nicely chanting and remembering Krishna's pastimes. And in his purport, and then he gave another class where he's talking about different symptoms that one may experience in the madhyam stage. And I said, wait, but wait. I've read that these are symptoms of bhav. And he said, sometimes the symptoms of bhav come down and touch one in a lower stage, and Madhyam, even Kanishta. They'll give you a shadow, a taste of what is normally described as bhav. So Srila Prabhupada is doing that same thing here. He says, in the neophyte stage, and it's going to describe these 5 stages, which are generally spoken of as the stages of development in bhav bhakti, right? In bhav bhakti. Bhav bhakti has different gradations as well, which begin with hearing, right? But he's saying in the neophyte stage, he's talking about sadhan, or he could be talking about the neophyte stage of bhav, right? But at any rate, well, it applies to us. In other words, everything he's saying here, even in the stage of sadhan, we can apply this, right? It's not in its fully developed form like it is in bhav, but we can apply it. So he says, in the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha. In the Bhajana Hasya, in the Madhurya Kadambini, in the Jaiva Dharma, this is described as the first stage of bhav, Shravana Dasha. And then by that constant hearing of the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, remember this is Shuddhanam. This is one who's progressed through Ruchi and Asakti, and they've heard from Sri Guru. Then what happens? Acceptance, Varnadasha. This is a very mature and deep form of faith and commitment and realization. When Brajanath and Vijay Kumar are hearing from Raghunath Das or Gopakumar, they'll say something, oh, now we totally understand. Now we accept everything that you say. They had great faith already, but this is another special, much higher kind of faith and acceptance, right? This is reality entering into my heart. Sri Krishna, reality the beautiful, right? So then, when one attains this stage, after Varna, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smarana Vashta, the stage of remembering, recollect, so very advanced kind of, where the remembrance, you're actually visualizing these things in your heart, that kind of remembrance, right? And then recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. He's giving English translations for the Sanskrit stages. So Smarana, internal remembrance, has these different gradations and stages as well, right? At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, right? He was describing that the other day, where we do mantra upasana. We're chanting a shloka, we get some great remembrance, and then it stops and it's interrupted, right? Something else may come up. But later, remembrance proceeds uninterrupted, right? Swarasiki upasana, like Gurudev described, like a movie reel, right, of pastimes. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated, and it's called meditation. And when meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. And by uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi, or spiritual trance. This is the highest stage of bhav, right? After smarana dasha, or samadhi, has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. That means, internal realization of one's siddha deha. It comes in the earlier stages, but this is fully like Vijay Kumar on the beaches of Jagannath Puri. This is what he had attained, described in the last chapters of Jaiva Dharma.
Huh.
At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. This is called Sampati Dasha, the perfection of life. Sampati Dasha means when you take your spiritual form, right? When you go to Krishna. So I run out of time. I went a few minutes over also, but it had to be said. I had to claim my 5 minutes back.
Yeah, 10.
No, it's only 6 after. Anyway, whatever. Sue me. What are you going to do? I'm in New York. Hey, sue
What
me.
was his time, Anuradha? What was his time?
He did go a little bit 10 minutes over, but
What did I
both
wait? How long did I
He
talk?
had a 10-minute ramble to begin with before he even started.
Well, that
That's
didn't count.
counted.
That
No,
didn't
it
count.
he you both spoke for roughly about 45 minutes, so it's
Oh,
good.
what?
he
All
spoke longer than me. I know he did.
That's because I just had
Yes.
to praise you and apologize for you so everybody would like you, you know? I was
Mahabodhi wants to
self-protecting.
say. Mahabodhi. Mahabodhi's
Yes.
looking to say.
Yeah,
Where's my
Haribol Dandavat Pranams. Very, very wonderful. I think all of the listeners, including especially myself, are much gratitude for hearing and making this, clear for us. I mean, it was very appreciative to Nanda Maharaj and also by Kanas Maharaj in this last part. So I think all the listeners, if it's not being said, I'm going to say it, that we owe great gratitude for again presenting these things, which is rare for us to hear. Even though they're in the books, it's rare for someone to hear these things to explain it back to us, even if we've been practicing for many years. So much, much appreciation. Thank you very much. And you should, Anuradha, you should give them both another 10 minutes. So if you continue, go on. I don't think anyone will complain.
ah ah?
If if it were up to me, I would have you both speak endlessly. So, but I
That's
know that
correct.
we're have
There has to be some limit. Has to
yeah,
be-
yeah.
All right.
But thank you both so much, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Devanandi Maharaj and Sripad Bhaktivedanta Vaikanis Maharaj. This verse is actually really very important for us sadhaks, and Srimad Mahabodhi Prabhuji has as related as well. I think that sometimes some confusion can be there as to what our goal is, and yeah, we can say our goal is Krishna Prem, but then actually, what are the steps to get there? Because this Vidhi Bhakti, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna is saying everyone practices Vidhi Bhakti, but this does not, factually give him so much pleasure that by following simply the regulative principles that one cannot attain loving sentiments of the devotees in Brajabhumi. So there's a need to practice this Raganud Bhakti, or in our case, this Raganud Pravritti, removing in that direction of eventually practicing. But it does not mean that we obfuscate Vidhi Marg. We don't not practice Vaidhi Bhakti, that our external practice is very important, but then those internal moods start to develop over time. Um, and Shripati Dani Maharaj, you made a very wonderful point in the beginning about, our sadhan bhakti is to attain bhav bhakti. If that is not our goal, then what is our goal? Is some material, desire, some material element, and it's a very strong point. Srila Gurudev emphasizes many times. I even had to ask myself that question. I'm still contemplate what is Bhav Bhakti, but you both have elucidated so much and unpacked this verse so much. But it is very pivotal for us to be able to understand this and to not be confused. That I think it also it reminds me of something Srila Gurudev said, that if Krishna were to come, and I think in New Bread said this, if Krishna were to come and give us, oh, do you want to go to, Ayodhya? Then we would say no. Oh, do you want to go to Dwarka? No. Or do you want to go to, Vaikuntha? No. Then what do you want? And so we want Krishna Prem. We want to be the Balyadasi of Srimati Radhika. Our ultimate goal is this. So thank you both so very much. And it really unpack. Yes.
You just mentioned exactly the right terminology that we both didn't mention. This rag, pravritti, vaidhi, bhakti. You just mentioned it. This is the term that Gurudev used all the time. We are on the path of vaidhi bhakti with our focus on rag. You just said it yourself. That's exactly the term that comes out. Rag, pravritti, vaidhi bhakti. This term is essential to actually just take away with, and you just, neither Vaikanas Maharaj or myself, we didn't mention that, but you just said it. Not the way, no, she said, no, I didn't say it the same. I didn't say it as clearly as Anuradha has just said it. Rag, pravritti, vaidhi bhakti. That's the term.
That's right. You didn't link it with the vaidhi. Yeah.
Rag, pravritti, vaidhi bhakti. That's beautiful, Anuradha. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're
thank you both.
Thank you all patiently.
Thank you both so much. I don't think that we have a closing kirtaniya, so I'll just try to close out.
We're going
Yes?
to do a Guru Puja now. Thank you all. Haribol, Haribol.
Thank you so much.
What can we do?
I think somebody was calling out.
Didi, I'm the beginner. I'm the bhakti of the Gaudiya Mark in Hong Kong. Then we are all always doing the routine work of the spiritual practice like the sadhana, right? Where the sadhana, how to upgrade to the power bhakti. But at this stage, we just have working service, engaging service in at my home. I have my own duty. Then I also practicing for the mantra every day. But this is the kind of upgrade. I feel that I only feel that I'm not in progress. Only when I'm a candidate for mantra, just say repeat 61 or more. How to upgrade to the power? Power Bhakti is more higher than the southern right? This is the beginning, right?
Mataji, it was a little bit difficult to hear you because the sound is a bit muffled. But if we can
difficult to hear, right? How about?
The sound is a little bit better right now, but if possible, if I can just close out and then I will open it up for questions for Maharaj and any other seniors that may be on. So is that okay?
Questions? Sure.
Do you want to do questions now, Maharaj, or you want to close and then?
Just for next 7 or 8 minutes, if someone has a question, I'll happily listen.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. I'm the bhakti. I told you that I'm a bhakti. What I'm just learning for. I'm learning, although I'm learning so many years, but my normal practice is only for chanting my mantra as much as I can for every day. And I have my own duty at home that I can. Can you hear me? Or can you clearly listen to my question?
It's a bit muffled still. So are you able to speak into the phone or possibly type the question?
Okay. Hello, is it okay, right?
That's better, much better.
Much better. Oh, much better. No, I like Krishna and I like the practice of Krishna consciousness. And I thank you very much all the Maharaj for Adhikata during the Kartik. So I learned a lot. So and before I'm also talking about this, and you have to pay hard to teach us a lot of Krishna consciousness in this program in Seoul. Some is a very good platform for a beginner. So I think now I'm in Southern Bhakti. I'm just practicing for the Southern Bhakti. But when I saw, can I reach into the Samadhi stage? how can I can improve to the Bhava Bhakti? You know, Southern Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti is more higher than the Southern Bhakti, right?
By hearing about Bhav Bhakti regularly, by reading books by my Gurudev, for example. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada mentions it so many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita. By just knowing or building the desire to understand what is the nature of Bhav Bhakti. That's where it starts, by being curious. What is this Bhav Bhakti? And then if you take the books of my Srila Gurudev, if you take the books of Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Nectar Devotion, so many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's meant just to know that one single fact, that sadhan bhakti is not sufficient without the focus of Bhav Bhakti is enough. That's enough. Just take that and carry that. That's enough.
But now, at the moment, I'm still in the Southern Bhakti. How can I improve to the Bhava Bhakti? I'm chanting more and more because I'm still working. I have the chance because you have the Harikata up to the late in Hong Kong time in the 10 o'clock, so I can speak with you. Then I have this. Okay, I have the Sadhu Sangha with the Maharaj, but now I feel I'm not in progress when I'm chanting. But you already said that in today's Harikatas that Southern Bhakti is not perfect at the moment, right?
Sadhan bhakti has to be focused on Bhav Bhakti. That's what I said. Sadhan bhakti without understanding what is Bhav Bhakti. And you can understand Bhav Bhakti from the teachings of Rupa Goswami Pad. Rupa Goswami, Nectar of Devotion that Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Yeah. I'm now studying
Just read
I have
that,
to read
focus
the
on that,
start.
keep increasing your chanting, and then you will get a clearer and clearer understanding of the nature of Bhav Bhakti. It's not going to happen overnight. We get accustomed to sort of quick things happening, but it takes time and dedicated cultivation and sincere listening to those who are speaking about Bhav Bhakti, particularly Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar Devotion. These are very simply presented. Further on from there, you can read books by my Gurudev. That's the end of it. That's the process.
You already mentioned Gurudev is the Srila Maharaj, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And also, I heard with some of the disciple, maybe the disciple, maybe the for ISKCON people, ISKCON. I have something to do. You know.
That's the answer to the question. That's the answer to your question. Just take that away with you. It'll be fine.
Because you know some of the ISKCON some ISKCON devotees said that as Swami Baba just asked you to have chanted 16-1. Lots chanting more than 16-1. I have time, then I have time on the chant. But it's not right. If I chanting more, I think chanting more is more better than me. It's best for me.
Of course, 16 rounds will not be
Right.
enough.
Not
If
enough, right? For in the Kali
about
Yoga.
this practice and you want to actually achieve Bhav Bhakti, if you want to become dedicated in this life, knowing that you're going to die, knowing that you're going to leave your body, what is the purpose of your existence is to connect with the jewels and treasure that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has gifted to us. And the principal jewel for our practice is Harinam. This is our principal jewel. And as much as we're able to develop that and increase that, then with our focus on Bhav Bhakti, then you will be successful in life. But now I have
Thank
to
you very
go.
much.
Thank you so much for your question.
Because I'm still working. I have a customer.
And increase your japa. Jai Ho. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Anirada.
Thank you so much, Maharaji. So just closing with Kirtan. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda Radhe 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Anitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Anitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaura Hari Bol Jaya Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Varshnitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol